one of the unhealthiest people groups on the planet. So what's going on here? We have totally dished the Lord in following what our forefathers, and I'll tell you, even our forefathers of this nation understood. You live on a plant-based diet, off the land, close to the land. You eat fresh, well, and happy. Oh, well, okay? People done their centuries. I didn't write the book. But the point is, if you don't, who's going to feed you? Now listen to me, people. We have an enemy. I can't say this true, people. We are in a war. Okay, and these people that are feeding us today, that make all these kind of foods, these French fries and potato chips and sugar-sweetened drinks and red meats, do you think they're doing that because they're looking out for your interests, your health? No, this is the problem. And, you know, and I'm not really picking on the whole thing, but large modern corporations are basically feeding Americans today. Now, come on, let's look at it. Now, and they have, their bottom line is profit. And many people will say, and I'm not saying, look at media, look at that movie with Michael Douglas, Greed. Greed is running this thing. Greed does not produce any good fruit. Greed is not out for its neighbor's good. Greed is out for itself and what it can get. Now, this is not really rocket science. We are in disobedience to the Lord by giving people who put food on a shelf that is full of chemicals, and I have to say this because we're going to go in pharmakeia, that is not food, and we're just believing all the bells and whistles about it and letting it feed us, and then we're complaining, Lord, why are we so sick? Now, come on, we need a knock upside the head. It is very clear. This is what the dietary laws are all about. There are foods that are good, and there are foods that are bad. But the point is, the food that got is living food. It's not food that has so many chemicals in it, it can live on a shelf for 4 years. And then you eat it and you think it's good for you. And I'll tell you what's, and this is, I have to say, because it's so insidious. It's just, because I know a lot of people struggle with this. I've struggled. Hey, I've gone through bouts where, I mean, I just ate a bag of potatoes a day. And I ate a little pint of ice cream a day. I mean, I was just, like, you know, this stuff is good. Come on. Why do people smoke cigarettes? It's good. You know, sin is very pleasurable for a season. But they're so insidious. This is my, because they, to me, are people who know what they're doing. They're very smart. They know what they're doing. They know who they're working for. And they're not working for our Father. They're not working for Yahweh, okay? And they put stuff in this. They put addictive stuff in this. I mean, why do you think people go back and back for those French fries or for those? There are, whoo, gets me mad. Why do you think it's so hard to get off of sugar and junk food and all this kind of stuff? There's stuff in there, people. Our body is so chemically and biologically wired to respond to certain things, and they're so sophisticated today. And this is where we're going to get into the sorceries of revelation that lead all the nations astray. So I hope I'm not losing anybody, but that's my little. So this is what you need in the blessings and the curses. We can't blame God, because he says, if you come back to me, I mean, God is so merciful and kind and compassionate, and people are doing this today. There's a whole huge movement, you know, people trying to get, as I was telling a friend of mine about this, we were talking, and she said, yeah, you know, I was talking to somebody, and they were saying how, like, in the 60s and 70s, it was like, and I've heard, it's like, people somehow got disconnected from this concept, is like, that food and health were related, that we could eat anything we wanted and be healthy. Somehow we had bought into this lie. And now people are waking up because we're actually seeing the fruit generationally, because this thing really works its way also through the seed, through the generation, so that progressively our kids are getting at 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 diagnosed with these things. I mean, you get your autism, your ADD, your so many things on the asthma level of kids today. I mean, and the allergens, you know, why would somebody be allergic to nuts or seeds, you know, things that are really good for you, okay? There's something really radically going on. So we need to take charge of our health. We need to take charge. This whole movement, and many people are, you know, you know, this is where the whole the victory, and I think this is like for a lot of the end times. I mean, this whole, the seeds, if you study this thing, oh my gosh, this whole subject matter I'm covering tonight has a lot of, there's even great conspiracy things to it, but I mean, the point is, it's a huge understanding. You would do yourself a huge favor to start doing some real research and understanding. Check my research. I didn't write it. I mean, India, I went to an India market to buy some of these foods and spices, okay? Because I couldn't find them in my grocery store, so I went to, and it's proven, it's documented. They have some information and understanding that we need. Oh, Western people, let's humble ourselves. Now, I'm not saying you pick up their gods. I didn't say that. I said that these people tracking out of the boat, so to speak, kept alive. Now, and if you study the thing about India, they're running into all sorts of problems because as they progress and get westernized and their diet changes and they migrate to other countries, lo and behold, they're starting to get what everybody else is getting. Well, anyways, I do think food is huge. I do think you cannot let your enemy feed you. I do think we need to take control of this thing. Now, on the flip side, and this is where herbs are for the healing of the nations, and it's a lot easier to live on a diet healthy that is full of, plant-based foods, seeds, nuts, spices, herbs. It's awesome. But the flip side. Now, it's never a good idea to just paint with a broad brush, per se, okay? Because there's always two sides of the story. There's nuances. I am not condemning Western medicine. I'm just saying that in the food care, we do have a problem because most doctors today, I know it's changing, still have this disconnect between food and diet and health. Okay, so that still is a bit of a paradigm shift that still has to happen a little bit, in my opinion, and more and more people are going to kind of more of a holistic understanding, and that the body, the soul, and the spirit. Oh, I could tell you a great story. I just have to tell the story. I have a friend who was dealing with diverticulitis, common. My mom had diverticulitis, so something to do with the intestines, and she was at her wit's end. She was getting bouts every, a couple times a year, and it was really disrupting her life, and she just was like, oh my gosh, what? And the doctors, they have really no. So she went on Google, YouTube, listen, and she found someone explaining, and this is, again, massage therapy, okay? And she said, and the whole thing was how to massage. So she was able to come to an understanding that even in massage therapy, see, these are all part of these understandings, but she was able to work through her colon, some of her issues, and she hasn't had an issue in over a year. That's so easy and so basic, and everyone can do it, and it made sense. I hope that little story made sense to you, okay? I'll try to give it, but this is why even they know, if you talk to massage therapists, they know that we store toxins and bad emotion in our muscles. People get all stiff, and when in a massage, it helps to release it. There's certain cultures, the Norwegians are really big, but massage, some of these things are very practical, healthy, holistic ways to deal with all the stuff that's constantly coming at us, our body, our mind, our soul, and our spirit. And of course, I'm flat out. I think the best thing you can do for yourself is to live on the bread of life, the true manna that came down from heaven, which is the Bible, which is an understanding that we have a Heavenly Father. Get connected, understand that, this body, even though we can eat as many spices as we want, eat as many chia seeds as you want, you're still going to die. I'm sorry, that's the bad news. There is something going, and then what happens when you die? I just think people just have to deal with this. And it's a wonderful, that's why I say, these genetics we have are not made to last forever. They're not going to last forever. Nobody out there, I don't care what group is telling you that, they got some secret philosopher's stone, or they've got some elixir, or whatever, or they know how to get to become some ascended master no, it's all a lie. There's no way out of here except through the only name that has been given under heaven by the high God, the Lord God, Yahweh, Elohim, and that is the name of his son, which is Yahushua HaMashiach. He was a Jewish rabbi, known today in the Christian world as Jesus Christ. That's my total conviction. Anyways, moving on to the flip side of this thing, which is Pharmakeia. Okay? This is a really interesting little which has a lot of history to it, which I won't go into. But if you read in my text, and I'll just read it one more time here, it's very clear that God told Noah that he was going to teach him. God told Noah about the healing of diseases along with their seductions. And that word seductions is translated, it's a word, pharmakeia, in the Greek we were today. And I meant, again, I don't have at my fingertips the Hebrew equivalent, but it's there. Witchcraft, sorcery, spells. See, this is interesting because what it comes down to is what's your motivation with a plant? Do you want to use a plant to control someone, or do you want to use it to heal someone? Do you want to use it for good, or is it going to be used for evil? You know, there's two sides of this coin, the knowledge of good and evil. So there's a history, pharmakeia, and it's a kind of a buzzword today, and it's really kind of funny because a lot of people out there are trying to spin it in a whole new way because, oh, they're so excited that marijuana might get legalized soon, or just different things. They're all sidebar issues. There is, and I've said this before, there is a huge body on both sides of a huge esoteric knowledge. Now, when I say esoteric knowledge, you have to understand that there is knowledge that has basically been hidden from the masses deliberately. Now, I'm just telling you a fact, whatever. On the flip side, on the occult dark side, there is a real history out there, and it goes all the way back to the it goes to the Chaldees, to the Babylonians, to the Egyptians, to a lot of the secret societies of the Greeks and the Romans. This is the rub that's been going on of using herbs and pharmakeia in a way that is detrimental. And there's whole histories to this, okay? And this is the key, and this is something Christians need to wake up to. You need to understand you have a real enemy, and he's got something just as powerful to be unleashed on you as you have, and you have to put your armor on, okay? We are in a war. But the thing is, it says that, and this is one of the things that my thing with Western medicine, because, you know, when you're dealing with these chronic diseases and you're dealing with a lot of these drugs they give people are just like so strong, and there's some stuff in these things. I mean, it's like, what is in these things? That are just the side effects. A lot of people can't even take these drugs because the side effects are so strong. You know, it's almost like it's a love-hate relationship. You get a little help, but you just get a whole nother suitcase full of stuff that just makes your life just as bad. So it is a double-edged sword. But the thing is, I don't think it has to be. I think that there's something a little deeper and a little more sinister going on here. I mean, if greed, which is not a good fruit, and if they want to tell us that greed is running the machine right now, which I'm just telling what Hollywood's trying to tell us, okay? This woman, there's one of these chronic illnesses is called ulcerative colitis, and there is a woman, she wrote in a magazine her whole experience with it. I mean, it's a hell road, let me tell you. But she was, tried everything, was all over the place, and it just ruins your quality of life. And she came to the point where she said, you know what, I just had to leave Western medicine behind. And then she talks about her journey. But she's very educated, she knows what she's talking about, there's a lot of options out there, and she wasn't like painting the brush. You know, sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. You got to plot your own course. But for her, it didn't. So she went into more of an Ayurvedic medical, venue. I mean, she went down that road a little bit, and it worked for her. But she said the options, and I just want to read that, she said, any longer I waited, I wouldn't make it. Even when I did make it, let's see, where should I start? All right, because the doctors would give her options. You know, this is your option. You can have this incredible surgery, or you can try these drugs. Now, these drugs, she said, I absolutely did not want to try the options they had given me. A class of drugs called biologics, and another class that the pharmaceutical industry optimistically calls immunomodulators, some of which are categorized by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as Group 1 carcinogens. A group that includes arsenic, asbestos, and plutonium. Plutonium, I mean, what are we doing putting that into people's drugs? I mean, come on, I'm out of my league. I totally admit you. I'm not a chemist. I have no idea. But, I mean, I'm saying, why would you put plutonium in somebody's drug? I mean, I want an answer. Seriously, why would you put an asbestos in somebody's drug when they're taking it out of schools? They're shutting down whole buildings today. You got to pay buku bucks if it's found in your house or something, and to take it out. And why are we putting it in people's drugs? Now, I really do want an answer from somebody who can give it to me, because I just, there's something that is, okay? I know, I mean, some of these, my mom was on a drug. I mean, it's really, for something, I can't remember the story, but she got out of her, and she's an elderly woman, and she lives alone. Well, no, I shouldn't say that totally, not totally, but she woke up one night and was disoriented. The drug had just totally disoriented her. She was having hallucinations. She gets to the edge of her bedroom door, and she's just hallucinating all over the place. She walks in the case, she falls down. And she just faints, like she can't get up. And so my brother called me. My husband and I go over in the middle of the night, and she's just totally out of it on the floor. And I mean, you would think that the woman really had taken hallucinogenics. She didn't recognize me. She didn't recognize. She said something to my husband, who she knows and loves, and is, oh dear man, the most bizarre thing. And we're looking at her, go, what is going on? We took her off the mat immediately. Okay. Now I don't tell these stories to be extremist or just to paint the kettle black and all this stuff. But I do have a legitimate question. I think, what is going on? Okay, I know people that are on 10, 15, 20 drugs, and the interactions of this thing, I don't know. There's just something not right here. When you can find cultures that have medical traditions going back thousands of years, which we can document, come from Noah, off the boat, through ship, and I want to say the Arameans, the Mount Ararat, which is, what really everybody says, that's where the ark landed pretty much, whatever. Okay, that's my opinion. Is right there in Armenia. Why? Geographically, it's right where Shem's descendants came right off the boat. So, I mean, all the vectors are pointing, okay? All right? All the dots are connecting. So this is something I just really don't understand. But in this understanding, the Pharmakeia, there's a lot of, and this is what is so sad today, because we have a whole generation, and this is we are so biblically illiterate today. This is something, it's just my opinion. Because I'm not, you know, I'm still, I suppose this is say you learn until the day you die. But where I was, you know, 5 years ago, before I really started to sit down and be Berean about everything, it's like, I can't believe it. The information that is out there that is being withheld from us is astounding. Now, inflammation, this is what I say, in the curses, we're going to come back to this. If you study, God says that you will end up having all these diseases if you don't follow my commands. One of them is a wasting disease will strike you with fever and inflammation. Okay, now this word inflammation, it's interesting because it's only used twice. I mean, the word inflammation is only used twice. But it's a very interesting, a lot of the root of these chronic illnesses they know is inflammation. Now, if you study this word out from a biblical, just do a biblical word study, which I did one day, it's very interesting because I had someone close to me kind of describe to me from their understanding, very scientific, very astute, understanding what's going on in the body, what's going on in a chronic disease, okay, why you can't cure it. He says it's like a war. It's like you got your good cells and your bad cells, and they're at war with each other, okay? And your body tricks into thinking that the bad cells are really the good cells, and they start interfering and, you know, kind of attacking the good organs, okay? So we have a real, Houston, we have a real problem going on. This is the word, this for inflammation. It's just interesting to me that the word that was used in the Bible called inflammation means exactly that, a war. There is a war going on in your body because its other usage is 100% in the category and on the understanding of two sides squaring off in a war. Now that's not an accident because all these foods that I listed, if you eat these, Okay, a lot of people don't really know what they're mixing up, and it's fine. But some people do, and I'm convinced that these foods are known to disrupt the cellular, biological, natural functioning of our bodies and to wreak havoc. There can be no other explanation, in my opinion. A lot of these words, the fever, it goes back to a root word, to inflame. Okay, it means that everything gets inflamed. All right, inflammation means hotly pursued, chased, to run after with hostile intent. And I'm listening to this person, that's exactly what he said. The bad cells are trying to kill the good cells, and they're like that total hostile war. So, scorching heat, this is a word. The root word again means fever, means burned. And I'll tell you a little secret for those who are really deep into this. The root word of all these words is the word fire, which is a whole interesting little code word here. We won't get into any of that, but be that as it may. At the end of the age, it says all the nations will be deceived by her sorceries. There is, in the sense of, you know, and I just wonder, and I'm asking this question especially to people who are a little more farther along the tradition, chemtrails. I can't see how you can't put that into this court of care. What's going on with this? Why is, maybe there really is a level of, you know, when you get into biological warfare. What is that? I mean, but just by definition, being unleashed on whole populations, released on populations to totally genocide them. That is in the category of Pharmakeia of using properties that are out there for complete and total evil. So, you know, I gotta say there is hope, and God is good. And I'll tell you a little secret. I believe, more than anything in the world, I believe I have in divine healing. And if I can find it, I was going to end with a quote that I had. Oh, my goodness. Where basically, and this is the thing with the early church and why Jesus went about healing everyone. Because, bottom line, and this is what he was telling to John. There's a quote I found, and he's telling this to John. He says, look, you be the great physician. You go, heal everyone. Heal them of their diseases. And heal them without the use of the medicine, in the context, without the use of the medicines. Heal them in my power so that they will know that the Father has given me this authority to heal in his name. And as they become healed, they will realize there is a power greater. And then, John, you can turn and you can heal their souls. Because I tell you what, bottom line, our bodies are going to decompose, but your soul, if it does not get healed and made whole in Yeshua's name, you want that. So anyways, I love you. Praise God. Keep the faith, and I will see you next week.